I'm back with another list of updates for my as of yet unnamed game that I've been working on with the intention of releasing to Steam sometime later this year. So let's get to the list of interesting changes and additions that I've made since the last update video. So I changed all of the dice into cards because I didn't want to give the player the impression that they get to roll dice. This game isn't based on random chance, and I felt like the dice sent the wrong message. So out with the dice and in with the cards. I think the cards work out much better. Now I just have to come up with a name for this game. Now, as far as levels, as of this video, I have 94 of them finished out of my goal of at least 100. So thus far, they take place in 4 different environments: a dungeon, what I call a stone environment, a house, and wilderness. And then I'm also having to revisit all the levels to ensure that my changes in the creature behavior haven't made any of them unbeatable. I found a few out of the 94 that have required me to tweak the design so the player can complete the level, and this is partially a result of not having a completely fleshed out, debugged, and pre-thought out creature AI before creating a bunch of levels. Honestly though, the creature AI changes haven't really resulted in all that many levels needing modification, so that's a good thing. I've added the ability to visualize the paths that the creatures intend to follow to help with debugging, and this has turned out to be very helpful and also has me thinking that I might keep this in the game and either have it available as an upgrade or have it available by default. But either way, I think it's a pretty cool addition to the game itself. Something else I've done is I've changed the way I'm doing the gameplay loop, and I've chopped it up into separate actual states that take care of various aspects of the game itself. Things like loading levels, showing the settings panel, level playback, exiting a level, player death, and say the main game loop. They're all now states, and this change in architecture has cleared up a lot of bugs and issues that were present before, and it gets me away from one large monolithic script that previously tried to juggle all of these functions. I also came up with a state machine design that I think is pretty cool. Maybe I'll do a separate video where I show that if anybody's interested. I'm also considering taking the creature logic and converting it into a state machine form as well. I have done a little bit of preliminary coding to start this, but I've found that some of the GD script limitations would make that painful to do. Switching to Go.4 or God04 would solve most, if not all of those issues. And I've started down that road at least a couple of separate times, only to be frustrated with the quality of the automated script conversion process from 3.5 to 4. The tile sets and the tile maps, the conversion just isn't really all that great, to be honest. And the opaque and misleading error message that I was getting were just unhelpful, to say the least. And they had me pulling my hair out, basically. Also, I don't want to go back through and redo all the 94 levels just so I can use some of the features of 4. So this game will be completed with 3.5. In going through the levels, I realized that I needed a way to ensure that they all can be completed. So with this in mind, I've implemented like a recording system that records the moves of a player makes within a level and is able to play them back. So I can pause the playback and step forward or backward through it in order to spot any oddities or issues with that creature behavior, and in order to test the level and make sure that it still is finishable. This has given me a pretty easy way to make sure that any future changes I make to the game loop or the creature AI don't break any of my solutions. And I may also keep this feature in the game for fun, and also maybe to assist with any strangeness or debugging that may occur after release. And then I also did a level overhaul recently. I completed a pretty extensive overhaul of all the existing levels, in which I added 3 more tile maps to represent items and what I call things, and then creatures. This really simplified my level generation code and lets me now place things underneath or on top of other things in a way I wasn't able to do before. So before I was using one tile map to represent everything. So when a level was loaded, I'd iterate over the tile map and find any creatures or items and objects, and then I would go and instantiate those from that, in that tile position. And then I would have to replace that tile with a floor tile. Well, this worked just fine in the beginning when the game was small and simple and consisted of only one tile set. However, when the number of tile sets increased and the number of ground tiles increased, I was limited in how I could decorate a level. So now all that logic and limitation is gone, as all I need to do is just find those tiles and instantiate the appropriate objects. And then another thing that I've done is I've always intended on supporting gamepads, and Godot makes that really easy. But until now, all I had in the game itself was UI that showed like the keyboard controls. But I have created a component that now changes the displayed control icons depending on whether you have a gamepad attached or not. It's pretty cool in my opinion, and it adds a little bit to the polish of the experience. And then of course, lastly but not least, I've squashed a bunch of UI bugs as well as logic bugs and undo system issues. All bug fixing is good, but it always surprises me how many bugs I find and fix each day. I always open up the project on a given day thinking that all is well because of the bug squashing of the previous day, only to find more bugs in another area that I have to fix. But I guess that's just how game development works. And that finishes the list of things that were done since the last update. Thanks for watching. See you next time.